Hello and welcome to my presentation for Linguistics 115, the language and culture of India versus the United States. My name is Vincent Anelli. So the first question is on the differences in Indian languages versus languages in the US. So India has many different languages that are spoken throughout the nation. There's over 1,600, and the most widely spoken being Hindi and then Bengali. English, on the other hand, has a significantly less spoken role, but it is on the increase as the government is pushing for it being taught in schools and used in day-to-day economic settings. India's official language is Hindi, but English is also being pushed by the government. The United States does not have an official language, but English is the most dominant spoken language. So factors that shaped India's diverse language is that India was compiled from many different cultural groups, and then when the British continued to colonize the area and just merge all the different cultural groups together, these languages were still kept alive throughout the respective regions, but they were in less of a national sense, a national use, and more regional use. Factors that shape language in the US is so there's roughly 350 languages spoken throughout the United States, but the most common ones being English, Spanish, and Chinese. This is largely because of immigration and migration rather than native languages being spoken. And then English is the most dominant because of British colonization. So the second question has us discussing the different norms between family in the United States and India. So India has a lot more traditional views on family structures than the United States does. This is primarily due to deeply rooted hierarchy structures. So throughout its history, India has had a lot more fundamental structure systems than the United States has. One of the most common being the caste system. But so these structures are still seen throughout family settings and don't change as often as in the United States, where the US has a little bit more of a flexible family structure. US norms traditionally are or break traditional family expectations. And so an example of this is with gender norms. So most of the time in the US, there is a dual income household, and then household tasks are displaced between all members of the family, regardless of gender. And then so similarities and differences in the US, gender norms are pretty much the same traditionally in India as they have been for the past couple centuries. There is a push for more gender equality in the household. And the two nations both have generational hierarchies, which means that older generations are seen with like more respect and are treated a different way than with people of younger generations. The third question is having us compare the differences between Bollywood and Hollywood, and then its impacts on the respective nations. So Bollywood films and TV shows produce most of India's popular media. These films are filled with drama and material goods, and a lot of Western social norms are demonstrated. This media challenges traditional Indian norms, and some speculate that that is going to cause a more radical shift in India's culture, especially with younger generations. Hollywood, on the other hand, has a wider range of genres, so there is a lot more than just dramas, and these films typically have really high budgets and a wide range of special effects. And Hollywood movies tend to dominate globally, while Bollywood films tend to stay popular within India. The fourth question has us discussing the differences between different corporate settings and their social responsibilities. So India's corporate social responsibilities tend to center around more traditional views based on religion, primarily Hinduism, and social responsibility. And this changes some factors that are important for the companies in comparison to the United States. So some of their um, key points is rural development, sanitation, and then philanthropy. And then there is a push to use English in economic settings in India. And like I said earlier, that's mostly a push by the government. So there are some different factors for these corporations in the US. Um, and so some important things are sustainability, ethical sourcing and labor, community, and then accessibility. And then the United States primarily has a market-driven economy, which is indicative of supply and demand. The fifth question has us discussing the differences between science and religion in the U.S. versus in India. So in the U.S., there is a lot of tension between religion and science. Many people think that religion should dominate or science should dominate. And usually we see these in the discussions between reproductive rights, blood transfusions, and then resuscitation. Sorry. Um, and then there is more of a all or nothing approach to religion and science in the US, where a lot of people either believe in it or they believe in one or the other instead of having a blend. Whereas in India, there is a little bit more of a collaborative effort between science and religion, where a lot of people go into both as perspective towards each other. And although Western medicine did bring a lot of attention to metaphysical beliefs and sciences, um, a lot of people practice both of them without having conflicting views. And then there is still some debates on what is considered okay and ethical in the viewpoint of religion. So some of these in India is on stem cell research and then genetics. So the last question has us picking our own topic to talk about, and I chose mine to be college in India versus in the US. And so India has a strong emphasis on engineering and health sciences for higher education, where the US has a little bit more of a broadness and focuses more on like well-roundedness, so a balance between general education and then specialized fields. India has lower cost education, but it has more selective admission, as where the US has a lot more options for college, but they are very expensive in comparison. And then colleges in India typically have mostly residents from the nation, where colleges in the US are pretty diverse, collecting people from around the world.